Let's see what's up.
Okay, I got a Yu Yu Hakusho tossed in there.
See that? Right. That's what's up.
And in the meantime, I'm going to take the chance to do some little marketing while we're waiting for those answers to fall. As usual, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but this weekend we have our 15% off code for all of the items in our store. That's the Blurbox store and the AfrOtakus store. So I will post the links to that in the chat for everyone to go to, but it's 15% off with the code Afrokon 2021. I'll put that in the chat as well. This is our convention shirt that I got hung up behind me. I'm wearing our AfrOtaku shirt right now. All of those are in the store. Feel free to purchase them if you think they're dope. And that is my spiel. So I see we tossed out Golden Kamui, Black Clover, Toradora, and Dr. Stone.
Man, respect to all of those. Man, respect to all of those. Just starting Golden Kamui, that's a ride. Like, them bears don't play no games, bro. Don't sleep, man. Ooh.
Okay, so I guess we'll wrap that part up. And thanks for sending some of your favorites. Let's go into our criteria for what we each feel like makes an anime good to us. So I'll start. For me, I think I really like a variety of characters. So characters here means not just that you have them, but they actually get developed. Some key examples of that would be Naruto in the beginning, where there was just like a lot of ninja and they had these families. They built a nice little world around them. And it seemed like you could kind of explore different people's stories throughout the Naruto storyline. Black Clover does a pretty good job of this. What else? One Piece has a lot of characters, but they don't do it necessarily the way I like, but they have that. Another piece for me is character development. It just goes along with the characters. With the variety, I definitely want to see some growth or some type of development in the characters. Whether that be because I understand I come from mostly a shonen background, so I understand character development doesn't always mean relationship building. Sometimes it just means power development, and I'm okay with that too. Next is like plot. Gotta have something that's pulling me in, something interesting, some good story questions that make me want to keep watching episode to episode, or like a big world that's the question for me to explore, is just like what else is out here in this world, right? Like Attack on Titan did a really good job of setting that up with the plot, because it wasn't just about these random titans coming from nowhere. The story questions were like, what are these titans, right? And then at some point through the story, no spoilers, it just became like, oh, wait a minute, the world is bigger than we thought. What else is out there, right? And they started exploring that. So that's good. Obviously, coming from the shonen background that I have, action is always going to be semi-important to me. I'm starting to change on that a little bit, but slice of lives haven't fully gotten me.
Snap. Player 5 converting you, bro.
Right, and then an action here doesn't always mean kicking and punching, because I'm a big sports anime fan. So to me, the action in those scenes are like the games, like how they compete with each other, right? It's not always about the fighting for me. It's more about that core thing that makes it part of the story. So in sports anime, it's the games, right? The games are their form of action. In fighting anime, obviously, it's the fights, right? Magic anime, it's when they start using spells. So, wow, here we go. Player 5 already with the Yuri on Ice. Next. And then for me, it's the tropes. I look at, if anyone's heard of TV Tropes, it's just a website that kind of lists out friendly names for these themes that you see across TV shows. So I was an avid fan of TV Tropes and reading through them. So for me, I kind of like look for tropes that I enjoy in shows, meaning like certain themes that I think are cool. Like with sports anime, I love the underdog storyline, so that kind of pulls me in. But then if I see like repetitive tropes, like where the focus just kind of gets too much on the main character, or every major battle has to be won by the main character and the main character alone, nobody can basically outshine the main character, those are shows I tend to stray away from or get bored with easily. And then lastly, from in my Death Note bag, has to be strategy. I appreciate an anime with some good strategy. I think it's just something that always pulls me in when I see it. Some people have tried their form of strategic type of storytelling and it flops. Like shout out to High Rise Invasion that didn't go well. They had a little bit of seasoning and strategy in there, but just wasn't that great of a show. But you know, shows like Death Note where it's really like a chess match between the characters. Same thing with Hunter x Hunter. They set up a lot of strategy in the battles, and I appreciate that. So those are the things I look for in a lit anime.
So for me, it's a tad different, but most of the same in a sense. As far as the characters, like MGG said, it's not really about the quantity of the character, but the actual characters themselves and how they really delve into who those characters truly are. I mean, at least as far as my history goes, I'm no longer satisfied with base characters in the sense that they're literally there to almost fill up space or be a friend or like a random super base sidekick to the MC. Those are just boring to me. They need to have a little bit more depth. And when they go into the depth, that's where it does get a little tricky in the sense of it has to still be interesting to the storyline, which unfortunately some anime attempt to, but end up failing. And I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about that later. Hashtag the Todoroki family. Anyways, so for my next one, it's going to be world building. Again, MGG touched on this with Naruto. I feel like that's the perfect example of successful and unsuccessful world building. One Piece did it reasonably well, but I think they got too into it. But I think that's the whole story by itself. Anyways, with Naruto, it started off with pretty much branching into the other villages, hitting on the big hitters and what makes it a village, but it stopped. Like even when they started doing that, they still had most of the focus on Konoha. It was all about the Leaf Village, etc. But I thought that was a awesome opportunity to really go into the intricacies of what made each village of why it's a different village from Konoha, and as far as like the different kind of chemistries within said village itself. Like the idea itself was great. I love that. And we definitely would have had to, would want to have seen that further explored just because I love that kind of concept. Next, to combo these guys, action comedy. Action, I just love good action and animation, action fight scenes. That's pretty much, you know, what brought me in as far as like the Pokemon fights, Digimon fights, DBZ fights, Yu Hakusho fights. I mean, that was like the excitement that brought me in, and that was just like makes up my anime loving core. So if you got some good action animation up in there, that's already a plus for me because that just looks dope. It's just like the visually stunning stuff, super dope. Granted, I will say, because we're going to mention this also, that cannot be the only reason why the anime is dope, or else it's going to fall flat. Anyways, next, comedy. If you make me laugh, you are a success in any point in life. Like business setting for me, social setting for me, TV setting for me, anime, manga setting for me. You make me laugh consistently, I'm a happy camper. So that's what I love to see in anime as well. Some strats and also within the mystery. So strats, I like thinking along with the anime, long story short. I like to be the person that's either have to figure their way to the answer to like a certain fight while fighting, or to an answer of some kind of mystery. Who is this? Why are they doing this? Mystery for elements part of the story. And you mentioned it again with the AOT. Who are the Titans? What are the Titans? What's the origin? I mean, like that driving question throughout like the first, what was it, 2 seasons practically, was like carried at least me, and I'm assuming a lot of other fans through that series almost alone, just to be like, what is going on? Like that'll just bug you, that cliffhanger feeling, just that consistently will just get me into an anime wholeheartedly. And the last point that has ruined a lot of good long-running anime is knowing when to stop. There is such a thing as too much good. There is such a thing as too much, period. What makes a good story is a large percentage, I would say maybe between 20 and 30, is the ending. Everything has to be wrapped up clean, and you do not want to waste time. If it's a long running anime and things are like getting to the point, like per arc, each continuing the story, each actually hitting on the bank, the big points of like the character, how they're developing, etc. That's all great. Don't give me, really bad, dumb filler, and don't give me an ending that either one, doesn't wrap up what's all the story is talking about, or two, just doing it purely for the merchandise. Granted, I understand money's got to be made, but I mean, it has to be a balance there. And for some anime, that balance was not there. So.
All right. So next, let's get into some examples of anime that we think are trash or lit, right? So first up, Attack on Titan. I think for me, I'm definitely going to have to give this a clean lit so far. So I think what they did with the story was amazing. I'll try my best not to spoil like the big turning points, but the beginning started off kind of like, I have my gripes with the beginning because I did like the idea that the Titans were mysterious, and then it kind of like, lessened for me once I found out like their true origin. But that finding out their true origins funneled into like the second part, the more political part of the story. So I really liked how that first phase was set up kind of like horror-like, with a lot of story questions and trying to figure out like what is going on. Then once we finally find out what's going on, it just shifts totally into like this political type of thing, which I was actually, and like ideal type of thing too, but I'm not a fan of. Like, mech anime loves to do this politics thing, and I'm usually like bored with it. But I think that Attack on Titan did an excellent job of being able to transition over into that political thing and keep me interested. Like, they would season little bits of, now that blank blank is opened up to the world, it's not like they just like are magically going to become some world power. They still have to create negotiations and relationships with other countries in order to really have a stance. They have to provide some value to the world, like what's your export, what's your import. And I thought that was a great little seasoning piece, and kind of something that set Attack on Titan apart from other series that I watched. It showed like a level of maturity there, as well as the characters. I think that they do a great job of showing you characters, giving them arcs to give them some development and keeping you interested. Like, even with all of the massive amounts of death that occur, you feel a lot of them. And I mean, there's some where it's just like, they just happen because it's just to showcase like the realness of the world. But I think he did a great job of showcasing the characters, giving them their own personalities and motivations as well, and not having it all be about Eren.
Oh, 100%. Well, first off, I guess just to put it out there, for me, AOT, definitely a lit. The storytelling and progression of this series, to me, is pretty top notch. And that kind of complements that is kind of, how do I say it? It's kind of the good balance that AOT shows in the types of anime that it actually covers. Types meaning like action, horror, politics, mystery. It all has a good culmination of those factors as the storytelling progresses. It it brings you in with the action from episode 1, brings you in with the horror, brings you in with the emotions, but then it's not just that, it's not just a horror anime. There's a reason for why such extremes are taking place. And pretty much it's taking you on that journey of why, while feeling along the way, while looking at dope dope action scenes along the way, as far as to how they figured it out technologically wise, as far as to why the people are truly thinking and feeling the way that you feel. There's like a kind of relatable feeling to it in the world that we just live in today. It's more just like, if this was really happening on an island somewhere, like just whatever, another dimension, however you want to think about it, it's like, this is pretty believable. in that sense, you know, as far as like the lies told by like politicians, royalty, as far as like people trying to figure it out, basic kind of cover-ups, as far as like the emotions into like just military personnel in the first place. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of connections that could be made to everyday life with low key. But no, AOT is, I mean, and it's still doing amazing today. You know what I mean? And we're on the final season. And based on how it's going, I think this is wrapping up very nicely, which is, again, on my point of knows when to stop. It's been doing like hitter after hitter with episodes. And so far, it looks like it's wrapping up to be one of history's greats, long story short. So.
And if anyone feels differently or the same, feel free to share that in the chat. I'm curious to see people's opinions on Attack on Titan. I'm always wondering if there's that one person out there who's like, I hate it. We know Rams had his issues with the first episode. So maybe he'll change his mind now, but we'll see. I'm just curious to see what people thought about it. And we'll answer it as it goes through. Yep.
Graham.
So next up is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh boy.
Here we go. So I consider myself a JoJo's fan. And here are my reasons. JoJo hits on almost everything that I like about that I expressed that I qualify in a lit anime. Every JoJo season has an amazing cast of characters, right? Whether they're all weird in their own way, but by the end of the story, you find yourself interested in most of them outside of the first season. I would say the first season just focuses on like Joseph, his relationship with Dio, and then you get like Speedwagon a little bit, and you get the Zappelli dude a little bit. But season 2 was great. Like Caesar was a very interesting, sidekick character. He gets developed. You feel like you learn from him. Season 3 was actually my least favorite, but there was a lot of development there for the characters. Player 5 disagrees with this, but I do feel like at the time there's some aspect of strategy to these battles. So I really enjoyed watching them, you know, what he would describe as ass pulls, what I guess I would describe at the time as strategy, pull out. Like, you know, that chess match of just like, oh, I got this one up on you. It's a one-up battle more than I'll go down the middle with it. It's a one-up battle. So if you've watched like a Baki or a, what's it called? Kengan Ashura on Netflix, those battles are set up as like one-up fights. So it's just like one person shows that they have the upper hand, and then you find out, and it looks like the other person's losing, and then they flip it, and that person shows they have something else. And it's kind of like this back and forth until you're trying to figure out like, all right, who is actually going to end up winning this? And I like those types of battles. So there's a diversity of characters, interesting fights, character development, like Bucci, who's shown in this one. This man, like his development in his season, I thought was great. To me, it outshone Giorno, who everyone loves in this season. I actually really loved the Bucci storyline because I felt like he really, you know, came up, and it was really more about him. Giorno was kind of just like the ace in the pocket that they use at the end, and everyone hypes up his reveal of his power, which I was kind of just like, whatever. But I think Bucci was really the key here. And to me personally, I will put it as lit. I'm not going to be the JoJo stan that like tells everyone to get on it, but I think it's something that I feel like is worth giving a shot. And I understand why people don't 100% get it when they first go in. But I think it's dope, like the character designs. Oh, and also I like the storytelling aspect of following generations of people. Like I think I haven't seen many anime that have done it. But JoJo's does it really well, where like they can pretty much, I mean, and they've used this to create whole new power systems, but they kind of can focus on a storyline, tell a complete story, and then continue the series, but just through another generation. So they can totally develop a whole new POV for the character, a whole new power system, a whole new way they handle stuff that I think is sometimes the bane of long running series. is that instead of like kind of ending it, they keep trying to find ways to drag the old characters to the next generation instead of just letting the next generation be themselves. Like problems I feel like I've had with Boruto. At the end of Naruto, they made Naruto and Sasuke like goats. And then now in Boruto, they finally found a way to do it, but they were struggling to find a way to kind of move them out of the story in order to give Boruto his highlight, which ended up just not really working because it's just like they just didn't write it well. And it was also a route I was hoping Demon Slayer was going to go with its ending, but I'll leave that alone, not spoil anything. So, but it didn't go that way. But yeah, for me, I would say this is lit. But I can definitely see. I wouldn't say it was trash at all because I've definitely seen some trash shows, but I can see why people. It's not for everybody. It's definitely a not for everybody thing. But I don't know how you can call this series like total trash. I think there's like a lot worse series out there, and I think people may call it trash because of like, the fan base overhyping it, but it's not. I think as objective as you can be with this type of material, I think you will see that it's not bad. It's just probably not for you in some way. That's all. That's my JoJo spiel.
Okay, so again, to answer right off the bat, I got to give it a lit. And my reason goes, at least for the top reasons, the combo is the action and comedy combo of this show.
Oh yeah.
I think that the reason, just to kind of touch on this a hot second, that this show does get negative hype is because of, pretty much the chat that Gramps a little bit and maybe Player 5 kind of touched on as far as the fake strats and the A pools. But you got to remember that the show was literally called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that its literal point is to be as extra, as dramatic, as just super energized everything in the show itself. And like MGG said, that's just not for everybody. And that's completely understandable. But for me, it's definitely understandable and preferred just because of how ridiculous some of the stuff that goes on in this show. It's just so ridiculous that it's funny, but it still balances out with just such cool action that it's like just like a tit for tat, like it goes back and forth almost like a roller coaster, like as far as like going from episode to episode. And just like the dialogue in the battles itself, it's like how do you just not laugh? It's just so crazy that there's no way that you don't get a little just like, really though?
John's already on your trolling, I see.
So I think like that as far as the A pools is why it gets negative hype. And then actually Joshua Jackson makes a good point too as far as the overhype. I'll just touch on this a little bit since I think that's the whole topic by itself. But unfortunately, the anime manga nerd community can overhype a show before you watch it so bad that no matter how good or bad it is, you will not feel satisfied based on that review. It's unfortunately just a sad fact. The best I could tell you is simply, if you hear about a popular anime, try to watch it ASAP. That's like literally the only thing I could possibly suggest in that kind of book. But a lot of good anime and a lot of bad anime just get inaccurate hype that it just permanently F's up your view. Like it just won't matter. It's just one of those sad things in life. It just sucks to suck. But as far as this show, for the positives, MGG hit on a lot of them. The generational aspect that you can pretty much get a fresh cast practically for every season is definitely refreshing as the storytelling is still being progressed in that sense. So I think it is definitely successful as far as like hitting that kind of formula needed almost for like a long-ish running anime. I think that they do that fantastically as far as the characters introduced. At the bare minimum, granted they don't go into depth, they're still just interesting. You know, they're still as dramatic as the first. You're still gonna see like just ridiculous scenes that you just won't see coming. Mid battles are gonna be exciting because another good thing they do is that they do kill off main characters. So like low key, you don't know who's gonna win a fight. Like you really don't know. You can just be like, oh, that's the MC, he's not gonna die. I mean, you could maybe say that for the JoJo, maybe, hint, hint, wink, wink. But like the other cast, they could be like calling deuces at any point in time. So mid battle, you could be like, oh yeah, he's just gonna pull an A, pull out the W. Just be like, bro, the villain can pull out the W and the A pull. So as far as like that kind of excitement and low-key kind of mysterious stress that go on in the mid battle, they kind of keep you on your toes and keep you in the screen watching. So I got to give it a lit. It's just the overall. I just like it. It's funny. It makes me laugh, and the action's dope. To summarize, so yeah.
I feel you. I think we already got a taste of some people's thoughts on JoJo's in the comments, but if you have more things to say, please add them to the group so folks can hear it. Hey, thanks, Felicia, for putting some respect on JoJo's name. I appreciate that. Next, Demon Slayer. So,
oh boy,
here we go. So just like I just talked about JoJo's and saying that certain things were so, and well, both of us said that certain things are so overhyped that the community has to call them trash. Demon Slayer fits that perfectly for me. I call it trash a lot because of the level of overhype that the community gives it. If I give it like without the trying to disrespect the fan base part of it, it's an okay show. Like I think nothing I've seen in Demon Slayer has been something I haven't seen before. And to me, having completed the manga and trying my best not to spoil it, Demon Slayer had a lot of potential to build a really great world, but I think they focused too much on trying to tell the story of Tanjiro and Nezuko and the underlying plot of the story, which is like, you know, trying to figure out if they can heal Nezuko in some way. I think they spent too much time focusing on that instead of realizing the great diversity of characters they have. Because what I'll say is I really loved the various forms of breathing. Like they did a really great job with that. Like they hit on the character development pieces for me. Like when Shinobu showed up, this is just season 1 stuff. So I'm assuming most of the people who know about Demon Slayer have at least watched season 1. But like when Shinobu shows up and shows off insect breathing, I think that's dope. The character designs are great. But it's just mostly that the fan base is like saying that it's some type of glorious thing that I didn't feel it was. Like I felt like after I watched the series that came around the same time as this, Dr. Stone, Fire Force. Dr. Stone I'm actually finishing up now. And Fire Force I finished up like shortly after Demon Slayer. Fire Force gave me, once Fire Force picked up, I was like hooked till the end. Dr. Stone, it's kind of like the same thing. Like it's starting to pick up and I'm starting to kind of like get attached to watching episodes. Demon Slayer, it was like a fight for those first few episodes. And I think people really liked how beautiful the show was, the animation. And I can definitely give it that. Animation for Demon Slayer, 10 out of 10. But it's only one aspect of the show, which is beautiful animation. And plus, if you're like me who reads the manga, I watched the first season, then transitioned to the manga. Basically, that animation piece is gone. It's not that beautiful in the manga. Like when people do their little sword moves, you just see whatever element that was. You just see a splash of water on the screen or a splash of fire on the scene. So I feel like if some of those people went back and tried reading it, they would not necessarily feel the same overhyped joy as they do for it. So for me, from the fan base side of it, I have to call it trash because I think people need to go. I mean, it's a great entry point anime. Like I've gotten so many people on to watching anime from it. Like my sister, an anti-anime person to the core, watched Demon Slayer. Now she wants to watch more anime. She got on like Promised Neverland after that. Okay. My wife, she's anime adjacent, but watching Demon Slayer, she definitely wanted to see more like it. So I see that it's a great entry point anime to people. I just think the fan base needs to stop making it seem like it is the second coming of Jesus. That is to be straightforward. Like people are really making it seem like it is the GOAT of anime, and it's not. It's only one season in. The series is technically already over, so I can tell you that it didn't match the greatness of some of these other GOATs that we put out there. But it is definitely a great entry point anime and a great. And I can't lie about the animation. It's a beautiful show to watch once you get to those points where the animation starts picking up. So that's my thoughts on Demon Slayer.
That's true. I mean, I could barely. The best I could literally say to summarize is ditto, like 100% practically. The hype, as I was touching on while talking about JoJo's, is that the hype ruined the show for most people. It was decent. I didn't think there was anything super original about the storytelling. I didn't think there was anything original as far as like any tropes or topics that was hit on in the show. But I mean, it was still a decent watch. I would still, watch it again. Like it's still like a fine anime, but it's not like my all around top 5. It's not my all around top 10. It's like, to me, it's just another anime that's just simply beautiful. Like whoever looks at this cannot make a negative comment about the animation, in my opinion. I mean, it was just beautifully done. Like, like big ups to the studio. It just looked really effing good. Right. I'm trying to think about anything special. And low key, I mean, I guess like the biggest negatives I got to hit on it are the 2 tropes that normally I kind of like. I don't think they successfully really did that well, at least so far, for the 2 characters as far as the berserker type, Inosuke, and then the low-key boss, Zenitsu. I don't think they really did them that well. I find Zenitsu just like too annoying and too bothering, where it's like it literally, like there's not a balance to like, his OP side to his annoying side. I think his annoying side weighs out a lot more than his OP side. And the berserker that Inosuke like truly shows out, all of that kind of waned as soon as you figured out that his berserker is weak. I mean, like it's not even that much of like a hint, you know what I mean? It's not like, Inosuke, man, like body these kids, It's not like, he's not like a Kenpachi. He's not a Marileona. I mean, like, he just ain't about it like that. And like, that's what you pretty much want to see with a berserker type. Maleficus that can literally put people 6 feet under. And so far, we really haven't really seen that kind of clout or feats from Inosuke. So to me, those tropes kind of fell flat. As far as like big hitters go, I would actually put more big ups to Nezuko than more anybody else. Maybe Tanjiro, like, right there with him. But in any case, it's okay. But because of that community hype, I mean, I can't give it a lit. If there was, if we were talking about trash lit or I maybe give it a but gotta go trash. So,
all right. So with that, what's we got next? Black Clover. Alrighty. So for me, I gotta give Black Clover a lit so far, but I'm giving it a lit with an asterisk. So before you go into Black Clover, you need to understand what it is you're getting into, because I think like the same thing with some, it's like we're kind of have a theme here, but basically with this type of show, it's shonen. You need to understand that if you watched a Death Note, if you watched a Hunter x Hunter, if you watch some of these like what people will call like quality anime, or maybe anime that just kind of do something a little bit different in the shonen genre or appeal to a shonen audience or pull a shonen audience out, basically Black Clover is not that. Black Clover is like an improvement on Naruto and an improvement on Bleach. So if you watch Naruto and you were like, damn, I wish they developed Rock Lee, Neji, all of these other people a bit more, Black Clover will give you that. You'll get a host of characters and you'll feel all of them get developed. If you watch Bleach and you went, damn, they got all these captains, they're interesting, I wish they had stories of character development or growth. Guess what? You get that in Black Clover. They've established a top tier set of people, but what you find out as you go through the story is that those top tier set of people have things to learn, which is something that's totally I wouldn't say totally unique, but unique for me in most shonen anime. You usually don't see the people at the top tier continue to develop. You usually see them as like the baseline. So once the main character can compete with them, they're now like, you know, in the top tier. Black Clover, the top tier captains, they still learning new stuff. They're still pulling out new moves. So it's great to see that because it's showing you that the whole world is going to progress as you continue in the story. But you're gonna get aspects of shonen, which is like you're gonna get some silly stuff that gets thrown out there. You're gonna get like you're not gonna get super stratty fights. You're gonna get the power of friendship here and there, but it's really great for what it does as like a quality shonen. So that's where I will put it. I would say that that is lit for me with an asterisk.
Um, I think I came in with a bias that worked well for me. To put simply, I did not come into this show thinking that I was going to get a fabulous story. I went into this going into I'm likely going to be getting a FT combo along with some Naruto-ish feel to the storytelling attack. Simply because Asta, to me, is almost a magic redemption Rock Lee. You know, he comes in, big buff swole, no magic, needs some key or some, you know, like special weapon or something like that, or some kind of special magic that allows him to really participate in the magical world. And Asta does that, you know, with spades. We come into it and it's just boss action, boss action, boss action, putting hands on people, showing what he's got, showing what's good. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, let's go Rock Lee. You know what I mean? Because I always wanted Rock Lee to get this kind of clout and respect that he never really got in Naruto. So I just came in with this mindset like, let's go Rock Lee. Kept on going with the bangers. And then we get introduced to the Black Bulls, and everybody in the Black Bulls, to my opinion, more or less, is just decent, like character-wise, and it just like goes in to their own particularly weird magics because I'm just really attracted to those kind of powers that the Black Bulls are showing out with. So they got me, you know, with the action. They got me with the action power structure system to the story. And then to combo that with the animation, anime is doing mad dope. And then as far as like this final season goes, which is, well, I mean, not the final season, well, we're trying to see the anime right now, but the season right now is just like with storytelling, bang it, just straight bang it. And I'm just like, and I wasn't ready for it, to be honest. Like, I just wasn't ready for Black Clover to have such an attractive story that it really does. And it was just catching me like, ooh, this is hot. It's just like, it just keeps on going, like with the hypeness that, again, the community is not enforcing so much, at least to me, as far as being like, yo, Black Clover's the best alive. Oh my God, it's the goaty goats. Like, I'm not hearing that. So like, to me, this is all just like natural hype building on the show itself. And I'm just like, let's turn up my guys. So mad decent. Gotta give it a lit. It was mad dope. And it still is mad dope. Hopefully it stays that way.
All right. So we are running hot on time. So what I'm gonna do for like the last few minutes is we'll let people just toss out their stuff in the chat. And then we'll rate them for like a minute real quick. And then other than that, we'll close out. So just if there's any anime you wanted us to rate real quick, we'll go ahead and toss our rapid fire thing out there real quick. So Doro Grams just put out there. I thought it was lit. How about you?
Oh no, mad lit. Love the style of the animation and the storytelling. It was weird, but I liked it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely one of those that it kind of depends on the person.
That's true.
Yeah, some people may not like that type of humor, but it's a dark humor type of thing. I thought it was funny.
And even like the anime, like, again, like everything about that show to me was weird from the original or like the shonen or like a lot of the common popular anime. So 100%, it is not gonna be for everybody, but at the bare minimum, I would say give it a shot because you could, it might surprise you. long story short.
Okay. One more, if I see it. If not, we will close out. So, Gintama, I have been in and out of that show. I have plans to watch it, so I'm just gonna put an asterisk right now until I actually get to the season of it.
Fuck, I wish I had more time to talk about it. That's gonna have to be a lit asterisk to me. The only issue is that I think I started it too late, where my anime preferences matured a bit, in the sense that I'm no longer a huge fan of the one-off episode. I mean, what was episodic? Like how episodic it is, in the sense of like the main story is pretty much like very select arcs within the whole episode stream, and that there's a lot of episodes that's just about one particular topic this episode and one particular topic the next episode. But as far as like the characters and the actual main story it does touch on, I gotta say lit, and it's definitely a funny show. Like, I think it's hilarious. So, but it could be a little tricky.
All right, so we will wrap it up here. Thank you guys for joining this panel. If you're looking for us, you can find us Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search AfrOtakus or the AfrOtaku Podcast. As I mentioned earlier, we got our sale going on today. If you want one of these dope convention shirts, you want an AfrOtaku shirt, feel free to use the code Afrokon 2021 on the blurbox.shop or the AfrOtakus website. I will post that one more time in the chat for people who joined late.
That's what's up,
but other than that, our next panel is our interview with Blur Without Fear. It is going to be interesting, moderated by Player 5. Just hang on tight, and that will be started for you shortly. So see you later. Thank you guys for joining this panel. We will see you in the chat in the next one.
Have a nice day for the rest of the con, guys.
All right.